First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. In what follows, I will try to explain the theory we have developed to explain how is the process to gain awareness in the context of climate change. So, climate change is one of the 21st century's main challenges. Cities are dealing not only with foreseen but also with unforeseen hazards. Efforts have been made in the last decade to develop climate change resilience through plans and strategies. However, the last IPCC report still warns that the taken measurements to stop climate change and be resilient are not enough, so more needs to be done. We wondered why, if so many efforts have been allocated, the results are not so positive. We realized that the existing passive behavior among city stakeholders and the fragmented efforts are reducing the effectivity of cities' resilience plans. In this context, we realize that awareness is key in order the strategies to be effective. Developing awareness is understood as a process that needs to be done before operationalizing resilience plans, and also it should be maintained over time as awareness acts like a driver in the resilience building process. Therefore, we can say awareness is a requirement both before and during the process of building cities' climate change resilience. However, there is a big gap in the literature about how to develop awareness to climate change. In this sense, we try to answer how does awareness behave and how should cities develop awareness. Through this video, we would like to present you the theoretical framework we have developed to answer these two questions. The framework first defines a group of mechanisms to develop awareness and then explains how the interaction among the mechanisms define the development over time of awareness. The development over time has been classified in 4 consecutive steps each city goes through when developing awareness. The results we present in this video have been concluded after carrying out a literature review and a multiple case study in 3 cities. The mechanisms that define awareness behavior are experience, attention, and knowledge. Experience is defined as having lived a real situation about a given topic or event, such as an important earthquake or a big flood as a consequence of climate change. It is essential that cities suffer a real experience of climate change threat to initiate their awareness building process. Having suffered a real event makes a clear change in cities' awareness towards climate change, since they clearly see how hard they could be affected if nothing is done. For example, if a city has had in a short period of time a number of unusual heavy rains that derive in floods, immediately the city increases its experience and therefore its awareness to deal with this problem and to adapt and recover from floods. Attention is understood as the proactive attitude and willingness to act upon a given topic, such as coping with climate change. When cities' attention or attitude increases, cities start becoming more active in taking action and measures to reduce climate change impacts and become a more sustainable city. Of the 3 mechanisms, this is the one that concerns behavior. Having high attention levels entails being alert to what is happening in the immediate environment and proactive in action. A good example can be the traffic of data concerning climate change in Twitter. Finally, knowledge refers to the quantity and quality of the information collected and analyzed in relation to the topic. Cities start to get more knowledge about the issue of climate change and have more interest in learning and getting information about this challenge and how to deal with it. So, for example, a city will have a high level of knowledge to climate change if there are studies, news, documentation, books, and similar resources available, and they are active in getting this information. For the second question, we have concluded with a 4-step gradual process each city goes through when developing awareness to climate change. So, in the first step, cities have a passive behavior toward climate change because they do not perceive climate change as a challenge. In the second step, cities have a static behavior. So this means that even though they realize that climate change is happening, they do not act consequently. In this second step, cities ask to themselves, do we want to make a change? So, in the third step, cities start having a proactive behavior toward climate change. And in this sense, they do not only realize that climate change is happening, but they also act consequently. In this third step, they ask to themselves, what else can we do to improve this situation? And finally, in the fourth step, cities will look for synergies. So they will not only act proactively, but they will also look for new collaboration and synergies among other cities. In this sense, they will ask to themselves who else can be part of this group. Taking these two results, we designed a behavior over time graph with the main variables, experience, attention, and knowledge, and how their interaction affect awareness and as a consequence resilience to climate change. The graph shows climate change related triggering events, impacts in blue, experience in green, attention and knowledge in orange, awareness in gray, and resilience in yellow. But let's take this and go step by step. So, in this first step, when cities are passive to climate change, the graph shows two consecutive triggering events and their corresponding impacts in blue. We can see how once the triggering event happens, the impacts first increase suddenly and then decrease when the city starts with the recovering phase. So we can see how when these two impacts happen, experience starts increasing. When the first triggering event occurs, experience increases and is maintained over time until the second event happens. However, both attention and knowledge do not increase, as in this first step, cities are still passive to climate change, and therefore they are not increasing their attitude and they do not acquire information about climate change to increase their knowledge. As we have explained previously, awareness is developed as a consequence of the activation of the three mechanisms, which are experience, attention, and knowledge. In this first step, only experience increases, so awareness will start increasing eventually, and as a consequence, resilience will start also increasing. Note that both awareness and resilience start to be developed with a time delay from experience, as in real life, their increase doesn't happen immediately after gaining experience. In the second step, two new triggering events occur, yet the impact's magnitude is lower, as now the resilient level of the system is higher and therefore the city is able to withstand some impact. Experience will keep increasing with a lower slope than in the first step, as the impact is lower and therefore its effect is lower too. In this second step, both attention and knowledge start increasing as cities start to be more active towards the issue of climate change and to look for more information in order to increase their knowledge regarding this problem. Therefore, in the second step, the three mechanisms are increasing, since awareness is the result of the three mechanisms. In the same vein, resilience will also be developed. In this second step, both awareness and resilience will increase more rapidly, with a higher slope, than in the first step, because in the second step, the three mechanisms are being developed. In the third step, the impacts of climate change are no longer affecting the awareness development, since the experience has reached its limits. Although catastrophic events are occurring, its affection is low, since the city is already accustomed to have this kind of events. Cities will keep gaining experience from their daily activities, yet the graph shows how having more climate change event will not affect how experience increase in the third step. However, both attention and knowledge start to increase more rapidly than in the previous step, as cities have evolved from being active to being proactive. They are more committed towards the problematic of climate change and try to get more information in order to have more knowledge about the problem and try to cope with it to prevent it. As a result of the development of the three mechanisms, the graph shows how both awareness and resilience keep increasing. Finally, in the fourth step, we represent how As in the previous step we have developed a high resilience level, the impacts of climate change are very low. They happen with less frequency and the recovery phase is shorter than before. In the fourth step, the highest level of experience, attention, and knowledge is achieved, and therefore cities work in sharing what they've learned, their proactivity, and their commitment. This way, new synergies are created, and the obtained level of experience, attention, and knowledge is maintained over time. As a result of having high levels of the three mechanisms, both awareness and resilience development is maintained over time too. So, this will be a brief explanation of the theory we have developed. We concluded that awareness behavior can be explained through experience, attention, and knowledge, and that awareness development can be understood as a four-step gradual process defined by the evolution over time of the three mechanisms. Now that you are more familiarized with our study, I would like to ask you some questions concerning the three mechanisms, the interaction among them, and their behavior over time. Thank you.